Why we still remember Julius Caesar 2,000 years later. 1. Caesar was abducted by pirates. In 75 BC, Julius Caesar was a nobleman, but not yet an emperor. He was captured by Cilician pirates in the Aegean. They demanded a ransom of 20 talents of silver. Caesar told them he was worth at least 50 talents. The pirates upped the ransom. Caesar sent his associates to get it. For 38 days, he lived with the pirates. Caesar treated them like subordinates. He recited poetry and played games with them, but he promised to hunt them down once they let him go. The pirates didn't take his threat seriously. Once the ransom was paid, Caesar raised a fleet. He took back the money and captured his abductors. Then he had them crucified. 2. Caesar had a child with Cleopatra. In 48 BC, Caesar traveled to Egypt on a military mission. He met Cleopatra, who was entangled in a civil war. Cleopatra was fighting her younger brother, Ptolemy XIII. Caesar stepped in to help resolve the feud. The next year, Cleopatra gave birth to a boy. He was named Ptolemy XV Philopator Philometor Caesar. The Egyptians called him Caesarion, or Little Caesar. 3. Caesar's official title was dictator. He ruled the Roman Republic as a de facto monarch, but he was never crowned a king. His official title was dictator. It simply meant the one who gives orders. The word had no negative connotations, unlike king.
Rome will never be ruled by a king,
Caesar proclaimed. He refused the crown offered to him by Mark Antony. In 45 BC, he declared himself dictator for perpetuity. 4. Caesar was an accomplished author. Caesar wrote histories of his own military conquests. He composed his own speeches and even dabbled in poetry. Allegedly, he could dictate several different pieces at the same time. He'd have 3 scribes in the same room. One would be taking dictation for an administrative letter. Another would be writing up a speech to the Senate. A third one would be writing down Caesar's exploits in Gaul. Caesar even published a joke book, collecting Cicero's jokes. 5. Caesar introduced his own calendar. The Roman calendar was based on the lunar cycle. It had a 355-day year, 10.25 days shorter than a solar year. Caesar introduced the Julian calendar. He based it on consultations with an astronomer. The new calendar had 365 days in a year. It synced with the solar cycle, but the actual solar year is 5 hours 49 minutes longer. So Caesar added an extra day every 4 years. This is why we still have leap years. 6. Caesar enjoyed a cult-like status. His image was minted on coins while he was still alive. Caesar was the first Roman politician to receive that honor. Caesar's statue was placed next to those of the kings. He was granted a golden chair in the Senate. He was allowed to wear triumphal dress whenever he chose. 7. Caesar's assassination was very public. Caesar was assassinated in 44 BC in the Curia of the Theater of Pompey. More than 60 people were part of the conspiracy. They feared that Caesar would overthrow the Senate. Caesar was stabbed 23 times and his body was cremated. 8. Caesar was the first Roman to become deified. Upon Caesar's death, a comet flashed in the sky. To many Romans, it was a sign of Caesar's divine ascension to heaven. A new Senate formally voted to deify Caesar in 42 BC. He was thus formally recognized as divine, Divus Iulius. The Temple of Caesar was erected on the site of his cremation. A life-size wax statue of Caesar was erected in the Forum. It displayed the 23 stab wounds